Welcome one and welcome all to the LCS Academy powered by Verizon. I'm Mazel, joined by Joshi and Desirex for the kickoff of week number 4 and the final day of the first round robin. Joshi, you feeling okay about this? Are you all right to transition into the second round robin?
I'm feeling pretty good, but right now I just can't think of anything other than, that whole fist bump thing we have at the beginning. Does anybody else remember that video from 2012 or 2013 where you have a bunch of Riot employees talking about how they don't know how to do handshakes?
No.
That's just me. Okay, actually go look it up. Riot Games fist bump. You have Mark Merrill talking about how we were trying to go for this handshake, and then we were trying to do all these secret things, then we realized the fist bump is
it unlocks the generation.
Way. Anyway, back to Academy.
Hey, you'll learn a little bit of something. You know what they say? You learn something new every day. What about you, Desiree?
Real life lore.
Yeah.
I've worked past my marital issues with Joshi. I'm willing to give him a second chance, and now we're back together on this broadcast.
There's been some progress behind the scenes.
Some progress, some progress.
We had some counseling. It's okay.
We'll be okay. as a outside watcher, I was rooting for you two. So I'm really excited for the culmination of that arc. Anyway, speaking of, before we get to Academy, we do have some updates, at least in terms of Champions Queue, as in the top 40, or at least in the top 20, we have a huge amount of Academy players. And speaking of, 4 members from Cloud9 Academy here. I will say, though, shout-outs to Shaden, keeping it real, not in the top 20.
Wow, that was not the shout-out I was expecting there.
Whoa.
But I mean, I'm just impressed with all of the way that we've got so many different teams representing, and we know different teams play different amounts of Champions Queue.
Yeah.
And Tony Top coming in as a substitute for Dionysos, he kind of needs to prove himself to to everybody else that he belongs in Academy. And I feel like he's doing quite well, but this is another way for him to get the practice in the meantime.
Yeah, is there anything stands out to you, Mr. Desiree?
Yeah, that shade you just threw, man. That shade, that was pretty intense.
Is it shade or is it heat? I don't know. It's one or two.
Absolute nuclear heat coming out of you, Mazel. But no, nothing more to add to that one. I'm gonna let that one simmer after you just set the stove for us.
Gotta add some noodles to that thing real quick. Just make sure it continues to go. No, it is really nice to see the representation from the Academy players, right? We had such a strong representation last split, Joshi, as well.
Yeah, I do have a question though. Why does King have a YB at the end of his Twitter? Does anybody know what that stands for? Throw it in Twitch chat.
Good idea to look that up. Probably maybe Google. Who knows? Maybe Twitch chat will help us out. We'll have to check that one out and make sure we know why the YB is there. But we also had a little bit of an update. Let's see the NA talent update for this week.
Another week, another NA talent update to catch you up on all things developmental League of Legends. We're going to start in the amateur ecosystem, where 16 teams made it through the open qualifier and have now made it into the closed qualifier. These teams will be fighting for more points on the Rift as they try to earn that elusive top 10 spot to be an amateur representative at Proving Grounds. Best of luck to them. Now let's get on to some Academy content. Sometimes we could all just use a little bit more gratitude in our lives. Whether it is the spoken word or written word, Joshi has you covered with thank you notes.
In a week with a ton of bad news, I think it's important that we take some time to look back and remind ourselves of things that we're grateful for. In honor of that, I'm going to be writing down in my journal some of the things that I've been grateful for this Academy week. This week, I'm grateful for Spyrax, whose brilliant base defense means that we can continue asking if Team Liquid and Team Niquid really are different teams. I'm also grateful for Soul, for name changing from Anime Girl, as a humble reminder that you cannot have both a Soul and Anime Girls. I'm thankful for Pyrotechnics, for without cursing both Mazel and Desirex with his weather report, we could never have shown Cheddar on stream. Lastly, this week, I'm grateful for Dokla's success in LCS, for showing that you really can teach old Dokes new tricks.
Thank you, Joshi, for the kind words for all of our Academy teams giving it their all. Now to talk about Booty, we've got Mad Magical.
Welcome aboard, mateys. We be setting sail on the high seas, looking for our big booty of the week. And I believe one of these scallywags has come across quite the score to bring back to the captain's crew. Let's take a look. As you can see, these landlubbers are trying to take what rightfully belongs to the captain, ship, and crew and all. Because parts of the ship, parts of the crew, that swashbuckler JJ brings it all back for us. Cubby, just so you know, it's just me. It's just magical. This is all just a costume. I'm just pretending. These aren't even real coins. They're just chocolate.
Really, Mad Magical? Chocolate gold coins? Can't even get the real stuff? Let's hope our knight does better.
It truly is a wonderful day to be a Golden Guardian.
Shoes.
Nice
Look
on
at
you.
Cicadian. Over the wall comes Cicadian, puts the Cyclone. Gonna keep Array alive. And with
Nice.
time popping the ultimate, Golden Guardians, it's the gas pedal being pressed right down to the floor. They'll push TSM right underneath their tower. But
no.
Concept has something to say to Soul in a 1v1.
On a day like this, the Golden Guardians need their sword sharpened. Just like this. Huh? A chunk!
Look at this right here. Ray's going to be caught out going for the invade. Does have the back of Acadian and Chine. Going on to Instinct now. Now, keep in mind, you can get a lot of damage out from the Twitch, but when you're down so many, it's not going to work out.
Every Golden Guardian must know how to swing one of these. Let's swing at these enemies, shall we? Have at thee!
Are looking to secure this Drake. Look at Takeover, though, coming from the flank. Drake secured. Golden Guardians have it. Concept coming in. He's the big boy. He's taking care of business as another briefcase gets slammed into Soul. He will flash over the wall to try and survive, but Concept says, you cannot escape. You cannot get away. You're fired. He will chase Shenyi as well. He's got business.
While Jimmy and mine have also had a pentakill in this game, we decided to make the Nexus-saving quadra kill our Rafa Pog moment of the week.
Frontline Golden Guardians suddenly, all from one play, one reaction where they came out on top, are at the Nexus. They are getting the towers. They're getting the damage onto it all. They're trying to see if they can take down Jimmy, who's gone golden this entire time. And he jives back in. Perfect execution. Keeps the game alive.
Woo! Poggers.
Thanks to everyone that helped out with this week's edition of the NA Talent Update. May your week be filled with positive gaming experiences.
I don't know. I'm just dying after that. I don't know if I have even anything to say. I had a ton of fun making.
Poggers.
But yeah, exactly. My absolute probably favorite thing we've done this split is being able to put that one together, because just the fun that we got to see. But also some updates. I love the fact that we got to see the big booty of the week, the thank you notes, a little bit of wholesomeness. But speaking of a little bit of wholesomeness, we got to talk about the wholesomeness of NA developmental. And we got to talk about the open qualifiers here, Joshi.
Yeah, and we gotta trash talk Wolverine a little bit for playing on Team Large, but not actually gonna be playing in anything. I hope you enjoyed Champions Queue over there, buddy. But we do have a lot of familiar faces coming right on back here in the developmental leagues. We are going to be seeing teams like 100 Thieves next, and AoE with 3 or 4 rosters who actually made it into the top 16. And so you'll get to see a lot of people that we're used to seeing that even had some Academy play. And this is one team that everybody needs to be paying attention to, right? 100 Thieves next. We got to see a ton of people, Tenacity, Copy, Kenvi, Yon, they've all had opportunities to continue moving up, and now the next 100 Thieves next, they got Darkwings on them.
Yeah, but keep in mind, 100 Thieves next have fallen in this tournament, and that was to AoE, you know, Winston and the boys. There's lots of competition right now. I think in the summer open qualifiers, this that we have just witnessed right now, all these amateur teams, this is the closest in competition it has ever felt, from Fear to EGP to Maryville. There's so many big teams here who are performing on all cylinders.
Little shout out to Sketch there with the pentakill. No big deal underneath.
No big deal.
But it's been incredible to see it go. It is sad to see a lot of teams not be able to make it and some of the stories be finished. Yeah. At least for the split. But to those that did qualify, very excited to see the rest of the competition, how it all pans out. Speaking of competition, got a bit of an update here. We got a little bit of newness coming into this week, number 4, into the last day of the round robin. And it is all about the new patch 12.12, Joshi.
Yeah, I'm just going to point out one part of this patch notes that I think is absolutely ludicrous. Seraphine is getting buffed, if you guys are not playing Seraphine right now, you never will. This champion has been busted for half a year already. It got better on the durability patch, and they're buffing them again. Play it mid, play it AD, play it support. Don't play it jungle. I don't care. Just get this champion on your team. It's gonna win you free games every single time.
Man, I'm so sad to see that nerf over on Mundo after we just watched those concept clips. I know it says iron to gold on average, but you know corporate concept was a big reason for those nerfs. Don't you lie to me.
Corporate concept.
Well,
watch
you
out
want
when,
it to be
when
Crusader
HR
concept,
comes to
right?
town. Yeah. Hey, he'll be making calls left and right. You don't know if it'll be your death or your life. But it's going to be an interesting change here.
Bars.
Also, the fact that Bel'Veth is enabled, which is a huge difference. I don't know if we'll actually see Bel'Veth, but I think that being able to see maybe some of the differentiation in the major picks that we're seeing might come through. I'm very excited to see how Academy itself handles this patch and the iteration in it. But speaking of Bel'Veth, we had our own reactions, I guess, to the iteration of the champion that we now see coming to the Rift today. So we'll see what happens as let's take a look at that.
Bel'Veth is an unnatural abomination of a champion, a cross between a Manta Ray and a Ginsu's Rageblade that has no business existing in a balanced game of League. I love it.
You're fishy.
Don't be fooled. Bel'Veth is not a champion. It's actually Riot's newest system to detect win traders. And we're just going to find out if it works in competitive play or not.
Hello, welcome in. I have procured myself a fine little Manta Ray plush specimen, and as everybody knows, plushes are always atomically correct, and with the new champion being released, I felt like it was only appropriate to really learn what makes her tick. So let's dissect this Manta Ray specimen and...
Actually, Magical, you know that Bel'Veth is a moth, not a Manta Ray, right?
What do you mean? What do you mean Bel'Veth's not a Manta Ray? What? That's absurd!
Wonderful night out here on the range. What in tarnation? Oh, come on. What in tarnation was that? It was a person. Then it turned into a beast. That was no Texan bullworm. I don't know what that was.
Fishy, come here. Fishy.
This is my true self.
Ah!
Welcome, Bel'Veth, to Academy. I guess we all had a little bit of reactions there, huh?
Josh, are you okay?
Yeah, I gotta throw some shade real quick. Cubby, you said Renata was bad too. I'm not sure this is a win trading character. This champion is really darn good as well. I'm expecting we'll see a bunch of it. Maybe it'll bust her out, but it's definitely not going to be something that's reportable by any means.
I'm just wondering how Josh is here right now. You saw the scene. You saw what happened at the end. How are you
taken
alive?
out.
Okay, I'm better than Bel'Veth. Don't worry about it. We fought.
Got taken out. Well, we got a little bit more in-depth on Bel'Veth with our latest In the Lab episode. Let's see what Mad Magical had up his sleeve.
Welcome back into the lab, here to discuss new things coming to the Academy season. Mostly the goggles. Don't you think they look really good with the fit? Oh, yes, also, we gotta talk about Bel'Veth, modeled after this fine specimen here. It's a new champion who looks like a Manta Ray, attacking really fast. It's all super cool stuff. But you know what? Enough of me rambling. I feel like it's more important to hear from our academics here in Academy and hear their thoughts on something new like Bel'Veth.
My first reaction to Bel'Veth was, I feel like every new character is usually very strong. All the new age characters that Riot's been making, so it's probably going to be strong.
Bel'Veth's the type of jungler that I like to play, right? She's like a very harm heavy, really like duelist type champion who like really wants to 1v1 and really just wants to power farm.
I think the champ is really unique. Like I think she isn't really she doesn't look like she belongs in League, but I kind of feel that way about the recent champions in general. I think she has like a really high skill cap because like most of the high mobility champions usually do. And there's like a lot of outplay potential with her kit.
Like if I was on Bel'Veth, my first reaction is maybe try the the build that people are doing on Viego right now, where you go Blade of the Rune King first, and then you build Frozen Gauntlet, and just go for more of like a bruiser build. That would be probably my first reaction.
I'd say with the entire glass cannon and Bel'Veth, it's interesting, and maybe if they change her a little bit with her like buffs or nerfs, it could be viable. But I kind of see it the same way I see Viego. Like on Viego, you don't really go like Bork into Kraken, right? You kind of go Bork into Sunder, because once you have Bork, you kind of can 1v1 anyone in the game. So you just have to be a little tankier, especially in comp, so you can survive. And so okay, I could definitely see the full glass cannon working out, but in comp, I think you just need a little bit of survivability.
I don't like the design, I guess. The champ is a bit ugly, maybe. Doesn't look that good, so.
I think Bel'Veth looks more like a Manta Ray, you know, with the big arms. Pop, pop, pop.
My first reaction to like needing to play against it is just be very mindful of the E, where I think it's the E, the thing where she goes on the ground and like does a bunch of attacks around her. She doesn't take very much damage and does a lot of damage if you're in the circle. So that's just instantly what I thought after playing versus it. When I play against it in ARAM, just need to not be inside that, and then it's usually okay. And then also when she has ult, she's a lot stronger. So
I'll probably play something with like long range maybe, because I think the champ is like a bit short ranged.
Against Bel'Veth, I would probably want to try to deny as many neutral objectives as possible, since she has like the permanent stacking attack speed when she kills them. So it's probably really important to try to deny neutrals from her.
Getting to hear a little bit of a breakdown from players. Seems interesting that we have so many variations of the Bork into something build there with all the junglers, but yeah, I'm hoping to see the champ. It'll be the first time, and it would be really exciting to see the variation that we get through Academy, but that is a question that's left to be asked here in Academy as we do get to the nitty-gritty here. We got our schedule ahead of us to look at all of our wonderful games. We'll be kicking it off here on the twitch.tv/Academy channel with CLG Academy versus Cloud9 Academy, followed by FlyQuest Academy versus Dignitas Academy, and TSM Academy taking on Evil Geniuses Academy to finish it off. Again, our first match will be that highlighted matchup at the very top. Then over on twitch.tv/PatLCS, we'll have two best of two series. It'll be 100 Thieves Academy versus Team Liquid Academy, and Golden Guardians Academy taking on Immortals Academy in the final matchup there. And again, this is the final day of the first round robin, Joshi.
Yeah, I can't believe you dropped the Team Liquid Honda and the Immortals per.
Oh, I did!
Gotta get your sponsor plugs in.
Gotta get my sponsor plugs in. I need to have it like taped to the top of my screens here. Just make sure I always get them in.
CLGA.
But yeah, I don't know if I can get used to that one. If you do want to get used to any content for NA developmental, for Academy, for the PGCQs, for open qualifiers, for PG itself, you got to go follow at PatLCS. It is the Twitter where all the content is housed, where all the information is housed, and all the updates for NA developmental. So if you're not following already, please go do so. And if you are, thank you so much. Keep tuning in for all the content. But now, fellas, we got a fun one on our hand. It is one of Kelsey, our creative producer's favorite matchups of the day. It'll be CLG Academy taking on Cloud9 Academy, and in this one in particular is, I feel like, going to be a bit volatile, a little bit bloody here, Deserex.
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening, you know, with the way we've been seeing Shaden play, with the way we've been seeing, especially Jenkins as well. Jenkins has been a very, very bloodthirsty player. I mean, all across the map, I do feel like this is going to be a pretty big showdown. Look at the bot lane. Look what we've been seeing out of the bot lanes of both of these teams, both Meech and Breezy versus King and Destiny. I mean, every matchup actually has me pretty pumped up for this one.
Yeah, exactly. I think looking over at the Cloud9 roster in particular, it's a very interesting time now that they've gotten all their pieces together, right? Darshan still being that strength, Shaden himself now having the picture, having a little bit of growth there into week number 4. I'm excited for this roster in general, Joshi.
For sure. Cloud9 is a roster that we know is going to be one of our best teams the entire time throughout the entire season. They've been strong for several splits now, and this is another iteration of them coming in and saying, we're trying to get a team that can be potentially replacements for our LCS rosters if like anybody gets sick or has some other reasons they won't be able to play. And we saw that during the last week, during week 3, they went 5-1, and the only team that they dropped a game to was Team Liquid, who we also know is absolutely bonkers.
And this was some of the most disgusting play that we've seen from. I don't want to call it a bot lane debut. You know, they have played down here before, but just showing up into the summer split this disgustingly, this duo of King and Destiny, my goodness for Cloud9.
It's going to be a fun one. And, you know, across the table from them, no slouches. I love that you're talking about the bot lane because you also have Meech and Breezy standing across for them. But the whole CLG roster, yes, still with Rosethorn, not Kevy, has been performing up to some expectations, I feel like. No, if you talk to some of the players, they would say not the greatest of splits so far, but I think you've seen that growth throughout and starting to see the gears turning here, Desiree.
Yeah, it did feel like there was a little bit of complacency coming out of CLG very, very early on, but now that they've gotten their bot lane sorted out, now that the, you know, Visa issues, the majority of them are sorted out, you know, having Meech down there, he's been phenomenal. He's been performing so well. Everything seems to be clicking for CLG in this later half as, what, they're on a 4-game win streak thus far?
Yeah, and you were talking a little bit and foreshadowing to Jenkins in the top lane as well, and I think it's important to put a little bit of a spotlight here on Jenkins, Joshi.
Yeah, this is definitely the matchup that I'm going to use as kind of my temperature check for how hot CLG are really feeling, right? We saw in week 1, we had Luger playing, and Luger, we knew he was really good. When he first came into Academy, he was going to be our top 5 LCS ADCs. And then they had Mashme in week 2, and now they have Meech. We have to say that even looking at their success last week, it wasn't necessarily the most impressive opponents, right? They TO'd FlyQuest, they 2-0'd Golden Guardians, but going up against 100 Thieves, who's been looking, you know, themselves a little chaotic, CLG ended up dropping 2 games.
Yeah, and I love that you use the temperature check. I love that you use, like, it's a goalpost now for CLG Academy to kind of pull through this, because you look at the highs from last split, you look at the highs from this split, but you also see the lows, and I specifically want to talk about a potential missing link, I guess, in the team, where we've seen moments of brightness in Triple, Joshi.
Yeah, we know Triple in spring. He was one of our better mid laners. He was looking really, really strong on characters like the Ahri. But this season, he's kind of been not performing up to the standards that we had set for him. While we do have a couple good clips of, you know, moments where he has shown some of the brilliance that we saw from spring, we still need to ask, how are you going to be performing for the rest of summer? Is it a situation where you were really pumped up by players like Luger and Jenkins and Rosethorn, or is this something where you can hang? And going up against Copy, I feel like it's a great benchmark once again, right? Copy, we know, has been performing quite well. He's been part of that 100 Thieves Next, and now Triple, who's much more a veteran player, should be able to take him to task.
And I want to put it out there that it's not that Triple's performing poorly this split. He's still keeping up.
He's really high expectations.
Yeah, he's just not that playmaker that we saw from last spring. He's really taking a backseat into a lot of these plays and letting the rest of CLG do things. Yeah, we're hoping for more to come out of Triple. It's not bad. We're just hoping for more.
Yeah. I also want to look at the other player, because we kind of breezed over him looking at the rest of CLG. Jenkins is another player who, coming down from LCS, being replaced by Dokla, our most valuable prospect, go Dokla. You know, Jenkins has landed a little bit lower than I think a lot of us had expected him to be, and this is, you know, we're looking at the mid lane matchup for Copy. Jenkins versus Darshan is a matchup we got to see a ton in previous splits, and typically it's been pretty even. So we're hoping that Jenkins can showcase that, you know, the rest of the split, you got a bunch of different rosters coming through, a bunch of different AD carries, he's still going to be able to perform to the level that we know he can.
Well, we'll have to see as Champion Select is ready to go. We'll see how that first game kicks off. Deserex, Joshi, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Mazel. And I actually want to continue that conversation a little bit, Josh, because I've been feeling like Jenkins has been performing at least up to standard, in my opinion. You know, he's second in CS per minute. He's a little bit in the middle of the pack when it comes to most laning stats, but he's the highest damaging top laner. That's one of my expectations for him as being one of these aggressive top laners who does like to team fight. I definitely think he's not performing outside of what we saw from him last split, but I think his standard is still there.
Yeah, he's definitely not performing poorly, right? We talked about Jenkins and Triple, and we were saying that both of them, they look fine, but for players that we had like really high expectations for, it's fine enough, right? And I think that's one of the big things that we're gonna have to pay attention to in Cloud9. Jenkins, as far back as we've looked at him, he's never been like a super dominant laner. Even when we were casting him on Team Liquid Academy, like he was fine in lane, like he didn't have these big leads or anything, but come team fight phase is really when he started taking over. And Darshan is a laner that is going to try and kill you at level 1, and Jenkins can't fall to that.
All right, first bans now coming out for CLG. It's going to be Graves, Yumi, and Senna all taken off the map, but a support assault coming out from Cloud9 Academy as they're going to take away Lulu Karma and the Renata. But the first pick coming out from CLG Academy, Triple is going to be playing the Corkster.
That's surprising to me, right? We were just talking
very
about
surprising.
We were just talking about how we wanted to see Triple kind of step up and be a bit more of a playmaker for the team. This is, I don't want to say like super beta, but it's just like really late game focused. You're sacrificing almost every lane. You didn't grab the Senna, you didn't grab the Wukong, who are still some of the best characters here at 12-12. It's not the Seraphine. I'm surprised this is what CLG is going for. They have to be really confident that Cloud9 is not going to run them over in the early game.
Now, I do want to throw this out here that this Corki was taking into the Team Liquid matchup. That was one that CLG went 1-1 with, but it was largely played off a lot of those dragon fights that Triple was able to facilitate with the package. So there is a lot of potential there. It's just like kind of wild seeing it as a very first pick.
Yeah, this isn't Spring anymore. It is a champion that makes a lot of sense and a lot of compositions. It gives you a lot of late game tools, but going up against Cloud9, they have this massive mid game wake up, right? Wukong on one item, Ezreal on one item and two items, right? These are when these champions are strong, and Corki might not be able to stand up, but the Bel'Veth gets locked. I told you, Cubby, this champion is going to be all over the place. Rosethorn's going to be the first person to pilot it that I know of in competitive, and this champion, however much I like it, also doesn't have the most exciting of early games.
Yeah, from what I've seen on this, and of course you can expand on it more, Josh, it plays a little bit more to the side lanes, very good at targeting a very single champion and just dealing damage that way through prolonged exchanges. I don't know how it's going to play off in the grand meta of things. You know, it's going to be a first time for me. Josh, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time that I'm seeing it in the competitive roster, but the thing that we know about this champion is its game plan is very straightforward. Around level 8, or not 8, around minute 8, when you're a level 6, you gotta get that first Rift Herald. Your game plan is make or break around the Rift Herald. And this is a situation where Corki used to be the king of Rift Herald. You used to grab your package at minute 8, you would get it right as the Rift Herald spawn, you would go fight for it, but now Corki doesn't get his package until 10, and so with a weak early mid-game, or excuse me, early weak mid lane, a jungle that doesn't necessarily have a ton of agency, feels like CLG aren't necessarily building to find that success, whereas Cloud9 have huge wake-ups throughout that time.
Yeah, especially considering the order of the draft right now, Cloud9 were able to grab the Gangplank on that R3. So this allows them to ban away and kind of dictate what's going to be grabbed over on the top side by Jenkins. So far, the bans only Marksman pool, only mid lane pool being attacked. So LeBlanc and Xayah get taken away.
Yeah, and this game plan does decently well into a lot of the things that we know Jenkins likes to play. I was going to say with the exception of the Aatrox, which does just pull a ban here, but we haven't necessarily seen Jenkins be able to punish it super heavily on the Kennen. Yes, you have a lot of range, but it's something where Gangplank with his oranges can kind of just leave a lot of the time, and now as we start to see the rest of the draft really starting to come through, the big question is always going to be, how are they going to be having Gangplank and Ezreal interact with Corki later in the game, or will they ever have to?
Now, one of my concerns here is for CLG, I want to see a very strong top side of the map for what you were saying earlier, a lot of those Rift Herald plays, so we need something strong on Jenkins for him to be able to show up over there. And considering how well CLG have performed in the early game towards that top side, they're currently first when it comes to Rift Heralds taken in the early game. Only time will tell what is going to be locked in for Jenkins to respond with that. Leona getting locked in, we're going back to a few of those engaged supports, Josh.
Yeah, and we're already starting to see a situation where the Rakan's going to be attacked quite heavily. But I kind of want to go back to what you're saying, right? They're number 1 in Rift Herald. They are very focused on indexing into that. But they currently have a lot of champions that are, I want to say, low agency, right? They don't necessarily have a lot of ways to get team fights started. It's really focused on Breezy. Whereas on Cloud9, you have a lot of champions who can do a lot of things throughout the course of the game, and right now CLG just really need to weigh in, and while the Gwen has a decent matchup into the Gangplank, I'm worried a little bit for the CLG roster, not because I'm worried about the players, but I don't feel like this composition does much other than wait for Corki to scale.
And waiting is going to be a very bad thing for CLG when you have a Bel'Veth. You need that early agency that was talked about earlier for that Rift Herald take. So this is very concerning for CLG's composition. One more pick to come out of Cloud9 Academy. They have lots of frontline engage, lots of team fight. Now they're going to round it out with some poke. So Copy playing the Zoe in the mid lane.
Yeah, this is definitely, I really like the Cloud9 composition, right? You have obvious go buttons, you have a lot of range to play with, you have a very clear points at which you are strong, and so I feel like the question is going to be, we're going back to the temperature check for CLG. How hard are they feeling? Are they going to be able to play this composition in such a way that it has success? Will this Bel'Veth be able to get the Rift Heralds? Because once you start getting it, you become fishy. You become the major champion on the Rift, where you just get a bunch more fishies, and you can take whatever turret you want to get whenever you actually get your first ultimate, if you get it off that Rift Herald. So it's definitely a situation where CLG can try and snowball the game. They can put themselves in a spot where they're in success for the late game Corki. But Cloud9 have a lot of tools to fight them in that mid game.
They have a lot of tools, and another thing to consider is where Shaden tends to path. He likes to hover around that top side. He likes to hover around where Darshan is. So this is very concerning to me for CLG. I think Cloud9 have the better draft overall into this one, but if CLG do get their scaling tools online, there is a lot of potential there. I look at the bot lane, I'm looking at Meech and him being on that Zeri. What it can do with a Rakan, you can get some solid engage there, and some solid force of a fight. If Destiny gets behind on Leona, Leonas tend to be very, very squishy if they don't get any leads going for them.
And they also tend to be very, very vulnerable to Zeri. You got 2 skill shots, and they're skill shots. That's the thing, right? You got to get on top of the Zeri. Otherwise, Leona just kind of walks around, and Zeri takes forever to kill Leona, but Zeri will eventually kill Leona. So I feel like there's definitely a lot of play in this game. There's a lot of opportunities for CLG to just win some of the skill checks, but that's one of the things that we've been looking at Cloud9 on, right? Darshan has been looking quite good in the lane, as we always know he's going to be. Mr. President is very clearly contributing to the shot calling for this team, and also Shaden, I feel, has been our best performing jungler, potentially our strongest jungler so far in summer. This is a tough test for CLG to try and come out on top of, or Cloud9 are just going to skyrocket to the top 2 spot.
I mean, Shaden, he plays very selfishly, slowly kind of playing that towards his lanes, but it works. It works incredibly well over for Cloud9 with the way they've been forming lately. And now, as we head into this match, again, the Bel'Veth is one of the big picks here.
Yeah.
This is the first time we're going to see it. You know, we're starting to lay the expectations for groundwork, but what happens when we get past that first Rift Herald? We are able to get that evolution and that ultimate.
Yeah, if you do get the Rift Herald as Bel'Veth, you suddenly become a god for until you lose access to your ultimate again. So as long as you keep chaining picks, chaining kills in that moment, you are very, very difficult to deal with. But the big thing is, whenever you have your ultimate, if you get it off of an epic Void monster, aka Rift Herald or the Baron, when you go into a lane, minions that die spawn the little remorse, spawn the little fishies, and those fishies don't die in the same way that a lot of other pets do, right? Malzahar's Voidlings will get one shot by most auto attacks. You see very similar things kind of across the board with like Yorick ghouls, but that is not the case for the remorse. They are going to just take over a turret if you get a big wave.
All right, so a very critical early game for CLG Academy. Can they do it, or will they be swept away by Cloud9 Academy? We are ready to hit the Rift right now. So first game of the day now underway, and our first time seeing Bel'Veth. There she is, the Manta Ray, floating along down the mid lane.
Going Ghost as well, Rosethorn.
He's got the CLG colors.
True. The blue and the pink. I've been seeing mostly Bel'Veth's going with Flash, but it is a champion where you just need to get in and catch somebody, but Breezy.
Speaking of catching someone. Yeah, lead it with Leona. You got that crowd control early, but Breezy still able to slither away, get to safety.
And not a lot of wards going down for Cloud9 as they poke around for a little bit of an invade, but they need to know whether or not they actually committed to those wards. I think Breezy should have had a pretty good idea, but if you can get an idea of where Bel'Veth is starting on where her path is going to be, it becomes way more
So with this hard push that's coming in, Meech and Breezy shoving in that lane, mostly to the style that they've been playing to ever since their debut. Rosethorn has heavily played towards that bottom lane as well. We've seen him more on Viego, and actually it's been a little bit ridiculous for me because we've seen him so much on Viego that when I cast other teams playing Viego, I tend to accidentally call those players Rosethorn.
Wow.
It's nice seeing him on Bel'Veth, seeing the swap up.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a new look, right? We've been talking a lot, or Alex and I have been talking a lot about a bunch of character specialists that we've had. And, you know, it's too early to say that Rosethorn is a character specialist because it is the first day. He just happens to be the first one playing the champion. What do you
He's got 11 games on Viego right now.
No, but I was talking about the Bel'Veth.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, we can't call him a Bel'Veth specialist just yet when nobody else has had a chance to play. I don't know if it's being played over on the Path to LCS stream. He's definitely a Viego specialist, but I feel like we have a lot of those.
We do have a lot of those. But, I mean, if no one's playing it on the Path to LCS stream, this means he has 100% of the Bel'Veth games. It makes him a specialist statistically.
True. That is, in fact, the definition of it. If you are the only person on Games of Legends to have played the champion, you know, it's the only person that counts. But, you know, we're not necessarily seeing a whole lot of movement back and forth. Triple's doing a decent job, actually, like, maintaining his lane, but just as we said, Darshan was going to kind of be the litmus test here for Jenkins. He's got the wave pushed in, and as this bounces back, it'll actually put Jenkins in a bit of an awkward position, so we'll pay attention to see if Shaden comes up top lane again.
Shaden did get a deep ward in, so he is spotting the pathing that's coming out of Rosethorn right now. I think this is very crucial for Shaden. He wants to see where Rosethorn is going to be going, knows that this Bel'Veth doesn't have the most impact in the early game.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious what your thoughts were, Eric, when you first saw, like, preview footage of Bel'Veth, because when I first saw this champion, I was like, wait, there's no way this is actually an attack speed champion, right? Because you just see her go like, cha-cha-cha-cha every single time with, like, her arms, like, this must have been a troll build somebody was doing on PvE, but then I saw, like, that's actually what it is, and I'm like, that's the design? They went with it, didn't feel real.
I really should have got into that content segment, but the only thing I could think of was, how can she slap? Over and over and over. She just so fast. Slaps.
So fast. Yeah, not having a attack speed cap just like naturally is pretty cool. It's a pretty neat passive. And again, like, this is a champion where if you just leave it to farm over time, it will eventually get stronger. It's kind of one of my other good friends was describing it as Kayn but not needing orbs. And I feel like that's a bit of a aggressive take, but you have a lot of build-up. You have a lot of ramp-up as you start building up more attack speed. And when you get your first ult, if you start chaining that into more resets, just like Viego, another very similar champion in this regard, you can really dictate how fights go and take over a game.
So Rift Herald, the first one's going to be coming up. I'm looking at the pathing, specifically the camps that are spawning very soon. You do have a Scuttle Crab going on to that top side. Shaden will be there to clear out his golems. He does have a blue buff spawning. Does look like Rosethorn wants to play towards his bottom lane for a little bit while he gets to respawn on his top camps. So just very, very closely watching that because that very first epic monster to grab, Rosethorn is going to make it the Drake.
Yeah, this is bold, right? He doesn't have a way back over the wall, and he's getting caught.
Ooh, this is not where you want to be. This is not the start that you want for a Bel'Veth. Debut of that champion in Academy is going to be first blooded by King.
I respect the idea, right? If that's not warded, Rosethorn can just do the dragon and leave, but he took so much damage actually trying to start it. At Cloud9, they knew he was doing it. It's like, okay, yeah, well, we will gladly give him half a wave in the bottom lane in order to guarantee we get a first blood and the dragon. Rosethorn just overstepping a little bit without access to his sweeper, and that really stunts a lot of the growth because Ezreal is now accelerated into that mid-game spike, and King and Destiny, I mean, they played so many years together over in Oceania. They've been able to take players like Yan and Ayla and just dumpster on them, and now CLG, they have to deal with that.
All right. Second chance is going to be in a minute, but the first chance already wasted from Rosethorn, not realizing that ward was there.
Yeah, and look at this, right? Cloud9, they instantly start moving over right away, and so, you know, Meech and Breezy, while they try and get this in, they don't respond immediately. So it's a bit of a bad situation all around CLG. It doesn't look like they were necessarily as communicative with where the bottom lane was going, and Meech and Breezy thought like, yeah, he's fine. He has Flash. Oh no, he has Ghost.
No way to escape. Ghost can't go fast enough when you got a Leona right there just locking you down with the crowd control. 20 seconds before Rift Herald is going to spawn. And Rosethorn is now pathing towards the bottom side. Does have Scuttle Crab onto that side. I know I'm watching those neutrals so closely right now, but it's just the Bel'Veth, man. This is the first time we've seen it. It's such a high priority.
It is going to be what we're going to pay attention to for quite a while, and I think that CLG in particular, right? Triple has been playing a little bit slower in summer than he has in spring, and I think he wants to wait for minute 10. I think he wants to wait for that package to come up so he can actually take a team fight when people aren't on their first mythic yet.
Absolutely. Just wait for that timer, get the package. Would be very useful over for that top lane fight for the Rift Herald. Considering Jenkins has had a lot of priority over here, now Shaden starting to hover into this direction. And you know Shaden's going to be thinking about that very closely. Already has control ward to spot out some of the positioning, but Rosethorn setting up early right now. Will spot out that control ward, but looking to grab this Rift Herald. Will Cloud9 respond?
Okay, they're hitting. Corki has some priority in the mid lane. This is a really big moment, and I feel like Cloud9, even though this is not ideal, they have to fight this anyway.
Looking for it. Copy. Yet to get vision. Hops forward. 2k health remains. Shaden getting in the area now. He needs this so badly. Rosethorn trying to get this. It's going to be a smite fight coming out. Will Rosethorn secure it? He's able to secure it, but here comes the Cyclone. Now Shaden looking for the escape. Rosethorn going into the form, feels it, and wants to claim more. Triple Gatling gun onto Copy. Breezy looking to join the fight. Looking to make an entrance. Will lock down Copy. Breezy able to secure that kill and turn it for CLG. Rosethorn with the smite secure is feeling really good to continue with this dive. CLG
watch the fishies.
Cutting the wave. Looking to enter. Looking for the fishies. Now putting down the Rift Herald and Cloud9. They're trying to escape, but Rosethorn has something to say about that one. Jumps in for the fight. Puts down the W and will claim Shaden. CLG with the play in the top side.
And look at all these fishies come through. They're going to be starting to hit the turret. They already got 2 plates. Rosethorn, this might be an entire turret going down. Bel'Veth is so strong at this point, and Corki backing away. They will show that they are gone, but as these fish start to come through, notice how long it takes for them to die. They get 3, 4, maybe 4 plates off of that, and he still has time on his ultimate.
Goodness, a great start for Rosethorn right there. Knowing the conditions that this Bel'Veth is going to play to, now trying to get the kill onto Darshan. We'll get a little bit more damage now, just going to crash the wave. Rosethorn doesn't want the fight. Too low on the HP. Just take the cash and take the recall.
Yeah, okay, so that's going to be a lot of things coming through, right? That's a big lead coming out of nowhere for CLG, but we are seeing a couple of small things coming through from Rosethorn that show me that, you know, because this champion is so new, he hasn't necessarily put the most time onto it.
Yeah.
The way that the E works, when you root yourself, take 70% reduced damage, it hits the lowest current HP as a raw number, not as a percentage of how much HP you get. And so Darshan was never going to be taking any of that damage. It's something you got to pay attention to. It makes Bel'Veth very good at taking away objectives, but it's not necessarily the most impressive ganking tool unless you're an isolated target.
Yeah, so now with the positioning being set up right here from Cloud9, they're making a rotation upwards. Sending Shaden, they're sending Destiny. A lot of bodies going up here to try and potentially set up a dive onto Jenkins.
Yeah, this is a big opportunity. There's a couple from Triple.
All right, now behind the tower, Jenkins, realizing he's not in the best place to be, will put down the hollowed miss. It blocks a little bit of damage, but with 4 members there, Cloud9 will secure the kill.
Okay, and Triple is here. His package is available. He will defend his turret, so it's a kill and no plates, and that's going to be CLG on the far side equalizing on Dragons at the same time. So far, CLG, well, they didn't necessarily expect this dive to come through. They will be able to capitalize on the counter rotation. I think Rosethorn, I don't know if he still got the Rift Herald transformation, but if he does, as he resets his timer, he's going to have so many fishies to play with.
Going fishing out there, coming out of the river. Right place to go for him. So now Rosethorn securing 2 objectives so far. Taking a look, he does have his Kraken Slayer completed. 0-1-1 thus far in the game, having a CS lead against Shaden. So far this debut of the Bel'Veth,
Bel'Veth.
going back at Vel'Koz. No, the Bel'Veth looking good so far.
Looking pretty good, but we are starting to ask the other thing, right? We were asking a couple of questions of CLG at the very beginning of the game, and the first one was, how is Jenkins going to be doing into Darshan? It's... right? Yeah, he got dove. Yeah, there was a lot of chaos, but down 30 CS is a bit more than we were hoping from our CLG LCS player.
I mean, at most, he was able to set up that play for the Rift Herald earlier, but yeah, the laning hasn't been that good against Darshan, who's so far looking good on the Gangplank. It does scale into the later game. If he can continue the solid laning, it's going to be a monster for the late game of C9. So now the teleport Jenkins matching Darshan in that bottom lane.
Yeah, and he's got his first item. You know, he's not completely out of the game, and we know he's much more of a team fighter later on. But we're starting to see, right, this is one of the reasons why, despite the massive lead it felt like CLG were building up with the Rift Herald to do 4 plays, to do several kills on the top side, they're in a bit of a rougher situation for a little while. They are basically even while they're starting to move into the mid game, and just like last week, we were looking for an opportunity for Cloud9, or not Cloud9, for Team Liquid to really wake up in the mid game. Cloud9 are doing the exact same thing.
As we take a gander at the Rift and see what our state of the game is, we are currently losing our plates, 14-minute mark. All the cash-in going to be completely done. Taking a look at Destiny posturing forward. So far, the gold staying relatively even. No one able to grab that first brick. But Dragons 1-1 apiece thus far. And now looking for the play into the mid lane. Out comes the Cyclone onto Triple. Quick burst of damage, and Cloud9, they find a weak point in the armor. They exploit it.
Yeah, Triple going down, and this is right when Cloud9 are starting to come into their own. And so now I feel like we have to pay attention to Rosethorn as one of the people that is going to be trying to stem the bleeding. They gave a lot of resources over to Rosethorn. They got him his first Rift Herald, and he's doing pretty decently in terms of farming, but he hasn't necessarily had the most ganking presence. And so while there's a lot of ability to play it later on when you're actually in the middle of the enemy team, it's not necessarily the easiest thing for him to do that in the first place. And so as Rosethorn is in a spot where they are continuing to scale in terms of raw damage, Cloud9 is going to be able to range them really heavily, and then the fishy is just like, I'm caught in a net. I have to keep swimming, but I can't catch them.
There's a net of vision that's been established deep into the jungle of CLG Academy. Cloud9 really playing towards this top side. It is lit up. They realize the priority this Rift Herald does have for CLG. So playing towards the side, King and Destiny hovering around here. Shaden not too far off.
Yeah, CLG really needs to play for this, but they don't have teleport. Neither top laner has teleport, and Triple, I don't think he has a package available to him right now. And that means that the fight isn't the easiest thing to take, but CLG, they need to find a window before this Rift Herald despawns in order to really cement an advantage before Cloud9 really start taking over.
This is one of the rough parts about this 4v4 is the cannon barrage can come down. Darshan can still be impactful. He can still make this a 4v5. Same can't be said for Jenkins, who doesn't have that teleport. No global skills here. Setting up for the Rift Herald right now. It's going to be CLG. They get priority on the river.
Okay, Cloud9, they're recalling everyone up in the top side. They either don't know or don't care that CLG is going to be picking up this objective, and I feel like that's a tough call, right? You're on Cloud9, this is when you're really kind of waking up. This is when you're going to be really strong. You're giving CLG advantages that I don't know they need to have, but they are trying to cross map.
All right, this is the play to make for Cloud9. Man disadvantage over on the top side, trying to get set up the dive for Jenkins, but there's no minion wave right there. Now trying to cut it away will be copy.
This.
First brick goes down over on the top side. Now Shaden showing up in the bot lane. Cannon barrage goes off. Jenkins is going down. There's no other way about it.
Yeah, so it is going to be a trade. This top lane turret is going to die to the Rift Herald and all the fishies. And at the same time, the bottom turret is going to be going down. But this is when Bel'Veth really comes into her own. When you allow her to crash like this is multiple kills going over to CLG in terms of gold that they suddenly find. And they might even crack an inhib turret at 17 minutes.
King, be careful. Be careful. She wants to slap you. She's looking for the slap. There comes the Zenith Blade, able to join the fight. Cyclone going to be used, but joining is going to be Rosethorn, going deep into the fight, looking for those deep slaps, but can't get any more to go through. Triple backing away from Darshan. Meech leading the front line now as he will zap on in. Another pick on to copy. CLG able to grab 2. They've lost 1 in the process. Stuff Jenkins over in the bottom lane. CLG now looking for the retreat.
Cloud9, that was not a play you could afford to give up. You could not afford to give up the Rift Herald. You clearly are not playing around the Bel'Veth, and they get 2 turrets, including an inhibitor turret, at 17 minutes. You're kidding me. That is so much money that CLG just got. And suddenly, if Cloud9 ever lose a fight later on, they're at risk of losing the game outright. If Roseborn gets a Baron, I feel like CLG just win because they better understand how this champion is supposed to be played. We see the reset come through, doing a lot of damage. Unfortunately, Roseborn not able to find another one. But we're getting a situation where Cloud9 are trying to take this fight, but they're doing it in champion. They clearly don't know how it works.
So now CLG taking down that top lane inhibitor tower. Rosethorn will secure another neutral objective. Strong priority coming out for CLG. Cloud9 can do nothing about this. They've lost positioning on the map. Rosethorn currently securing that Drake will get another one. So this is bad for Cloud9. They're trying to find a way back in. We're looking at the strong points right now. I can't help but to see Darshan. Darshan scaling into the late game.
True.
He's doing well in the lane.
It's definitely not doom and gloom, and I feel like this package from Triple, I've been very vocal about how you're supposed to play with this package, right? This package is not going to be up for the Baron in a minute. It's not going to be up for the next dragon that spawns in about 4 minutes. It's Triple trying to find it and potentially looking for a play, but now he's just using it to not use it.
Oh, nice. A catch out in the jungle. Copy not getting away. The Manta Ray will be able to prey victim onto the Zoe, so Rosethorn grabbing that one now, setting up a siege into the mid lane. CLG posturing up.
Yeah, and I love the way that CLG is playing as one. They've clearly shown that they understand how this Bel'Veth is supposed to be played, but they're also using the opportunity to start taking control of the opposing jungle, right? One way to play against these teams that rely so much on range is catch them out, take control of the vision in the bottom side of the jungle, and just find Copy, right? If Copy ends up going down, he's not able to wave clear, he's not able to start looking for picks of his own. And so CLG, they've done all the steps that they need to in order to try and win this game. And now, we kind of go back to the first thing we talked about, Eric. They have a Corki. It was their first pick.
It's getting there. Triple is getting there. He's good at Corki. Didn't need to use the package for the dragon fights. Uses it to set up Rosethorn for his neutral fights. And it's working well so far. Rosethorn has been progressing towards this mid game and performing decently. So far, 1 kill, 2 deaths, 3 assists. Has that Kraken Slayer, still working onto a second item. But my concern right now is soon we're going to get more scaling coming out of Cloud9. And you look at what they have. It's a lot of poke. If they can set up that poke around those dragon fights, around those barons, gets people low, the engage is nasty from Cloud9.
Yeah, and that's the vision differential that is going to be super important for both these two teams that we kind of identified, right? If Rosethorn is just able to get on top of Zoe in particular, who only has a flash to escape, or Darshan, who also only has a flash to escape, it's going to be very easy for Rosethorn to try and run them down in the jungles. But Cloud9, they want to try and force fights in open territories where they can see everything, where they're not really worried about being flanked. And very soon, in about 2 minutes, we make another fight.
So Darshan versus Jenkins over on the top side. Barrel going to be popped. Cannon Barrage goes down. Jenkins looking for the 1v1. Thinks he can take down Darshan. One more snip should do it, but Darshan, faster to the punch, will get the 1v1 versus Jenkins.
The faster draw. Darshan able to get the flash out, but the bottom lane turret looks like it will be falling here as well. CLG with both Triple and Rosethorn. Watch for that stabby fish.
Ooh. Inside slappy. Slappy, slappy, slappy. Slappy fish.
Stabby fish. Yeah, I love Bel'Veth. Just the memes that come around with the champion. If you haven't been able to tell already, but CLG, right? Even though they lose that duel off on the side, and Jenkins is not living up to the expectations we had initially asked of him, it's still a situation where CLG are playing the map better.
Teleport coming out. It's going to be Triple showing up to the top lane, going after Darshan. Keep in mind, Baron is available. Would be a bad time to lose Darshan, but Triple cannot continue the chase there. Darshan showing just how much damage he can do with those barrels.
Are they going to try and Baron? Okay, no. They don't know where King and Destiny are. If they knew that all these players were recalling for Cloud9, that would have been a Baron, potentially the end of the game in CLG's favor. But that's the vision differential, right? Cloud9 have enough control of their top side of the jungle that CLG were not privy to that information. But we know Cloud9, they're going to have to contest the Baron every single time that CLG try and go for it, and they do it pretty quickly. They have, you know, Corki's like only kind of a marksman, but they have Gwen, they have Zeri, they have Bel'Veth. All these champions do a lot of damage to the neutral objectives.
Setting up around this Drake now. This is what I want to see more of Cloud9. If they get priority on the river and establish vision control there, poke compositions are so dangerous to walk into when you don't have vision control, when the Fog of War is working on Cloud9's side. So that's why you're seeing them move over towards this bottom side to try and get the early vision for this Drake. But CLG are saying, well, if you're setting up over there, we'll set up towards Baron.
Yeah, and it's a very easy trade for CLG. If CLG sees that Cloud9 are going for the Dragon and not going to be contesting them for the Baron, CLG does this. And we know that especially once you get a third item, when you get that work completed on Rosethorn, you can actually just like solo the Baron entirely by yourself. And Cloud9, luckily, they are going to be doing a good job as well. They're taking control of some of the missteps from CLG and picking up a turret.
Oh, Jenkins looking for the engage. Destiny caught out a little bit, but Breezy not fully committing. Finally gets the knock-up. He will secure it onto Destiny, and there is the combo. Shaden trying to return it with the Cyclone. Jenkins already grabs one kill. Rosethorn trying to get out of there, but Shaden will chase him through. Put the pole onto the back of the dome of Jenkins, but there is a rocket found by Triple. We'll take down Shaden.
Okay.
Meech flashing forward. Will take down King in the process, only losing Rosethorn. CLG are going to win the team fight.
Yeah, it feels like CLG are just, with less tools to do it, they're being more decisive, and Triple.
Ooh, Darshan fishing with that barrel right there onto Triple. Wise to burn the flash.
Yeah, but it's still going to mean CLG at the end of it, they pick up another Hextech Dragon, one of the best dragons. Actually, I would argue the best dragon in the game. So CLG, they're chaining neutral objectives. They still have an inhibitor top lane that they can go try and pick up if they can push Darshan back. But now, we're at a spot, right? I said that Triple's package was not going to be up for the Baron when it spawned. It was not going to be up for this Dragon. But it is going to be up now for CLG to try and contest the Baron and force Cloud9 to try and answer them.
Can Cloud9 have an answer? Lots of CS onto Darshan. Good kill score. KDA coming out of Darshan so far. 3 items completed. Getting into those choke points. Going after that Baron, Darshan could land a big barrel. You also have lots of poke, King and copy, Shaden, great engage, Destiny, same exact thing there. So the tools are available for a great team fight out of Cloud9, especially on these choke points, especially around Baron. They just need to fight for that vision control, and that's one of the hardest things for them to get now. Not good for Darshan as he's getting ganked. Here comes Rosethorn, and it's all too easy for him. A shutdown picked up. They're not going to have their top laner anymore. C9 down a man.
That's big, as Rosethorn looking to reset. Jenkins doesn't quite have his teleport ready, but as they take more control of this vision, Cloud9's job becomes more and more difficult. They know they need to find a fight soon while they're still on a lot of their power spikes before Corki's range overtakes all of their range. Cloud9, I feel like CLG, while they're not necessarily having a ton of mechanical, really exciting plays, they're just playing the map very intelligently, right? They've got both Rift Heralds, they've gotten 3 of the Dragons, they're now threatening this, they're catching Darshan out on the side lane, and CLG, I think they just need to wait for a triple package and then they can threaten the Baron.
Ooh, above and below comes out from Rosethorn, gets the knock up onto Destiny, who's trying to escape, but Breezy locks him down. Triple secures the kill. Primary engage down for Cloud9 as they lose both their ultimate and their support. CLG setting up towards Baron.
Yeah, and they can do this 100%. Rosethorn does so much damage to this. Remember, he's got ramping true damage if he hits the same target.
Shot barrage goes out, gets a bit of damage onto Meech, but here goes Jenkins right onto copy. A brilliant knock-up coming up from Breezy. He's been so keen on this crowd control, but return of fire. King gets 1 kill back, but look who he's dealing with. Jenkins waiting right there. Baron now going to be secured. Here come the rest of the cavalry, realizing that Cloud9 are just going to back off. They've lost 2.
And that's what we're saying. One of the things that we're seeing from CLG, with fewer tools to get fights started, they are being more decisive about their fights. They are finding everything. And Rosethorn, as he goes top lane, like, 1, I think he actually might be able to fight Darshan, but 2, watch the number of fish that he's going to be spawning as he just, like, stands near these waves.
Oh. Darshan, interesting place to be. Rosethorn right onto him. And you can see that utilization of the positioning, making sure to get the most out of those dashes. The damage was done. The teleports are channeled. Jenkins will take down Darshan.
Fishy. Look at all the fishies.
Oh, here it comes. Yup, it's the swarm.
Yeah, this is when this champion becomes absolutely nuts, right? This Baron push could potentially end the game. These Remors that they've spawned are going to take so long for Cloud9 to try and clear out, and Destiny just recalled off of the bottom side. You got an empty inhibitor top side, and they're not going to be able to respond to both the mid lane and the top lane.
This is so much pressure coming out, and one of your main wave clear tools in the barrels of Darshan is down right now. Look at these fishies go. They're just leading right in to the Nexus.
Bel'Veth here, with all these waves spawning at the same time, that's so many more fish that you could potentially get. I think this is the end. This is why Bel'Veth is so good.
Yeah. Closing out a game is going to be the motto right now for Rosethorn on this Bel'Veth. Leading in these Baron-empowered minions, these Baron-empowered fishes. The final engage coming through. First game that we've seen out of Bel'Veth, played by Rosethorn, and look at what it can do when it's closing out a game. CLG Academy going to take game number 1 versus Cloud9.
And it was just a super clean game coming out from them too, right? Oh, we saw they had some issues with a couple of their laning phases. In particular, Jenkins was a little bit struggling. They just understood how to play the entire map, and you know, Bel'Veth and Rosethorn finding Nemo at the same time, found all the fish he could possibly ask for. He got Rift Herald, he got Baron, and those 3 objectives, you got top lane outer on the first one. You got top lane inner and inhibitor turret on the second one. And on your 3rd time you pick up a Void Monster, the game ends. Right? Bel'Veth is very, very strong. Cloud9, they knew what they needed to do, and they weren't able to execute on it.
Yeah, they were able to execute those first early steps when they denied the Drake, but after that, it was full control coming out from CLG Academy. Hats off to them in game number 1. We are going to throw it over a short break while our players get ready for game number 2. When we return, we'll have Mazel here for intermission.